What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got an awesome overview for you today. I just got another Hinderer XM18 in a new blade style and new finish. This is the XM18 Deep Swedge Spear. This is an exclusive from DLT Trading, and I got it in the stonewashed black finish. Normally, I am not a fan of black blades and black finishes, but there was something about this black reflectivity that I really enjoyed, at least in pictures, and I was hoping that it would sort of turn up the exact same way in person, and it did. I'm really happy with this thing. I've already reviewed the Hinderer XM18. I think it's an excellent knife, and I'm a huge Hinderer fan, so that's not really so much what we're going to do here today. This is more so just an overview on this knife, and it's gives me an opportunity to talk about it. I want to compare real quick to the general stone washing that you see on Hinderer's knives. You can see here the light is, this is good lighting, but it's also kind of messing with me. You can see that this is it's not completely black. I mean, it's very dark, but the reflectivity actually brings some light out here, or some different coloration. There's almost a very deep bronze, I mean, like just ever so slight, and it's more so where the oils of your finger would come in contact with the blade. For the most part, it is black, but just to let you guys know, if you're planning on getting one of these for yourself, that's kind of what you're gonna see, is this very deep sort of purpley bronze hue in the blade. So here's your generic stonewashing frame and blade. This is on another DLT exclusive, an M390. So you can see there the contrast between the two. And I really just have the 562 out because that's what I carry now, the new Thai version, but you can see there. Pretty cool, actually, now that I think about it, having all three of these lined up. That's pretty neat. So the Deep Swedge, and I'm not, I'm a huge Hinderer fan, but I'm not, like, I don't know the complete history of Rick Hinderer. But I do know that the Deep Swedge most likely, without doing a whole lot of research, most likely came, or is very similar to a custom grind that he did a while back. If you go to the website, the Rick Hinderer Knives website, and you look back in the gallery, past knives and custom knives, you can see that he actually did it was kind of a dagger grind with a false edge up on the swedge, where the grind actually was brought all the way to the tip, and it created this dagger look. Of course, it wasn't sharp enough here. It was a false edge. And essentially, I think what they did is they just took that grind and they brought the swedge up a little bit higher. And what they ended up with is this excellent aesthetic blade shape, and it also reduced some of the weight out of the blade. You can see here from the top down how much of the chunkiness is actually taken out of the spine of the blade. And it's not just an aesthetic thing, compared here to the Spanto. You can see how much, I mean, it's the same stock thickness, but you can see how much less material there is up top, despite the Spanto having its own minor swedge up there. It actually does reduce the overall weight in the blade. So this is, it feels like just ever so slightly the lightest Hinderer XM18 I've ever carried. And I like that, It does create a situation where the blade, well, actually, let's compare. Let's see where they're dropping from. See if the Spanto's dropping in the same place. You know what? This Deep Swedge actually still drops higher than the Spanto. I was going to say that the Deep Swedge creates a situation where the blade is dropping lower, and making it, it would seem like thicker behind the edge. What I was going to say is it actually seems really thin behind the edge, but that would explain why. It's not quite as low as I thought. Now, compared to a slicer grind, and this is the ZT slicer grind, but you can see how much higher that drops and how much taller the blade is. So how much, how much room it has to drop before it gets to the cutting edge. But in terms of how slicey this thing is, I'm actually really impressed. It is pretty thin behind the edge. You can see there. I mean, it gets pretty thin. It's not going to be, well, my old the standby saying is it's not going to be shaving toilet paper, but you don't really need it to do that. It is nice to have that weight reduction out of the blade, and even though the blade does not is not nearly as heavy, you still have that Gen 6. This is a Gen 6, by the way. You can see the tri-way pivot there. You have that Gen 6 detent and flipping action, and it's just amazing. This is one of the most beautiful XMs that I've ever had, and I'll tell you guys, I have some serious aesthetic upgrades coming for this guy, and I am pumped. I am so excited. This one's going to look crazy here in a few days. So keep your eyes out for that. Hey, let's talk about consistency now, because I've had many XM18s. This guy's coming in perfectly centered. We have a lockup of between, and by the way, all Rick Hinderer knives from now on should come up, I believe he said locking between 30 and 50%. Here's where we are brand new. And here is my, now this one does not get used. This is my XM18 no choil Spanto, locking up in the exact same place, having been flipped an enormous amount of just over and over and over and over again. That was the action on the no choil Spanto. There's the action on the new one. I mean, just super smooth, amazing. And I'm sure it'll stay the same way regardless of, right after I upgrade the hardware. The nice thing about that titanium one that I've got over there is that I took it all the way apart and put it all the way back together, and it was totally fine. I didn't have to really mess with it all that much to get the action to stay exactly the same. So I'm really impressed with that. I love so far that I've handled multiple half tracks. The new the Gen 2 with the bearings and everything in it. I've handled those since Rick has done this sort of detent upgrade and this tri-way pivot system upgrade. The consistency between all the Hinderer knives that I've handled is just amazing. We're seeing the same level of excellent fit and finish, but just more refined. The blade didn't have any wonky parts of the cutting edge. No uneven grinds. Everything is literally perfectly symmetrical on all this. I didn't have any weird blemishes or smudges or anything on the frame. Everything came perfect. None of the screws were stripped. The badging, or I'm sorry, the labeling here, this USA M390 and the Rick Hinderer horse head on the other side just look absolutely beautiful. By the way, they're a sort of a silver on the black stonewashed versions, and then on the regular stonewashed versions or other versions, they sort of have that laser blue bronze or that teal bronze look that you often get. So I did find what's interesting here. What came with this one is we've got the standard polished screws and the standard satin or silver pivot, but we got the black oxide standoffs. And that's cool. It would have made more sense to me if it was kind of like the rest of the knife, where you have this contrast between black and silver going on for the standoffs to actually be silver, but they're not. That's okay. And truthfully, it doesn't matter because it's all going to be changed. Everything is going to be changed except for the frame and the blade, of course. But all the hardware, everything like that, I'm really going to bling this thing out just because I think the black stonewash finish is a really awesome platform for contrast between the different colors that Rick Hinderer offers. And God, it just looks amazing. I'm turning this thing around because I'm trying to find the best lighting to accentuate what this looks like. You have this reflectivity, but it's black, and this is a different finish than your black wash and your DLC. Your DLC is going to be matte, and your black wash is going to be, or it's actually battle black is what he calls it. Battle black is going to be matte with your tumbling marks in it, but it's not going to have this reflectivity. The black stonewash is the finish that's going to have all of the reflectivity. So if you like that, if you like it to look, a little bit flashy, but more subdued than this crazy thing, because I've had a few people comment that this is like the blingiest, flashiest looking XM they've ever seen. And yeah, you're right, it is. But if you like the reflectivity, but you don't want all this crazy blinginess, then I would suggest going with this black stonewash. And truthfully, I don't know. I mean, they call it a DLC, so maybe it does offer a little bit of corrosion resistance. I'm not 100% sure. But this is M390. And if I remember correctly, I think Rick Hinderer said all of his knives henceforth are going to be in 20 CV steel, which is the same thing as M390. I don't know that you really need to worry a whole bunch about whether or not it's going to corrode. Just excellent overall. Really nice to see. I mean, this Rick Hinderer knives, that's truly my favorite brand. And I appreciate a lot of different brands of folding knives, but I just love Rick Hinderer knives. And I'm going to be a fan and a collector for a very long time. So expect to see lots and lots of Hinderers on this channel. It's just really nice to see my favorite maker just doing new things and coming out with new finishes and new blade designs and you know, winning that award most innovative for 2018 with the tri-way pivot system. And on top of that, you know, it's not just aesthetically pleasing. This is a very functional, high-end tool, and it's going to do exactly what you need it to do. I mean, ergonomically speaking, and in terms of the materials and just the shape of the blade, I mean, you can get whatever you want now. You can get the Hinderer that works for you, and it's going to be perfect. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this overview. By the way, I didn't actually go over specs on this thing. Let's do that real quick. I know we're here at the end of the video, and the only thing that I have to compare it with are other Hinderers. All three of these Hinderers are 8.25 inches overall. On your versions here that do not have choils, you have a 3.5 inch blade and cutting edge. On your standard version that does have a choil, you have a 3.5 inch blade, but you only have a 3.25 inch cutting edge because of that choil. Now, your ZT-0562 Ti is going to weigh 5.5 ounces because it's got milling in the titanium. Your XM18 with a full tie scale is going to weigh 6.5 ounces. And I believe your standard XM18 weighs 5.25, something like that. Part of one of the upgrades is going to be a surprise, and we're going to go over the weight and stuff like that again. But that's essentially what you're looking at. Again, with this deep swedge, this is the lightest feeling, and it should be. I think this is the least material in terms of a blade that they've done. So they really have taken quite a bit of material out of that blade while still holding true to the .165 stock that they use generally on their non-skinny versions or their standard XM18 stock thickness. So really, really cool. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. If you did, please leave a like. And if you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So definitely check those out. And if you'd like to, you know, subscribe to my channel, please do. I have lots of that. I'm also on Instagram now. As I mentioned before, I'm a newbie to Instagram. I don't know a whole lot about it. So basically right now, it's just pictures of a lot of the knives that you've seen on the channel, just in some different lighting and stuff. So if you want to check that out, you know, go over there and follow me there. That's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching and have a great day.